Rain hammered the cottage roof hard enough to drown out the first thud. The second shook Mira's back door. She froze with a basket of wet laundry against her hip. Something scraped across the stones outside. Then came a growl so deep, the cups on her shelf trembled. Mira set the basket down. Badly. It tipped over. Of course it did. She grabbed the fireplace poker, opened the door, and found an enormous black wolf, half buried in mud beside the steps. His fur was soaked, one hind leg dragged uselessly. Silver eyes locked on hers. Mira should have screamed. Instead, she whispered, "You look terrible." The wolf bared his teeth. "Fair. I would be offended too." He tried to stand. His leg failed. The growl broke into a ragged breath. Mira lowered the poker. Then she touched his forehead. The change was instant. The wolf went still, not weak, not unconscious, calm, as though something inside him had finally stopped fighting. Where are you listening from tonight? Tell me in the comments below, so I know we have not lost each other along the way. And stay with me until the end, because the reason this wolf refuses to leave Mira will change everything she thinks she knows about herself. Mira looked at the mud coating him from ears to tail. Oh, absolutely not. 10 minutes later, she was dragging a wooden wash tub in front of the fire. 20 minutes later, she was soaked. The wolf was cleaner, barely. Do not shake. His ears twitched. Do not even think about it. He shook. Water exploded across the cottage. Mira slipped, grabbed his neck, and landed knee-deep in the tub beside him. For one stunned second, the wolf stared at her. Then his eyes seemed almost amused. "You are enjoying this." She scrubbed mud from his shoulder. Beneath the fur, she found a narrow puncture surrounded by a faint dark stain. Not a bite, not a hunting wound. Something else. The moment her fingers brushed it, pain flashed through her own leg. Mira gasped and dropped the cloth. The wolf lifted his head. She stared at him. What was that? He pressed his muzzle against her wrist. The pain eased. By dawn, the wound had nearly closed. Mira opened the cottage door. "You are free." The black wolf walked into the rain, stopped, turned, then came back inside and sat beside her kitchen table. Mira stared. The wolf stared at the breakfast pot. "You cannot be serious." His tail tapped the floor once. By the time the rain softened to a steady hiss, Mira had learned that the black wolf was not interested in leaving. He was, however, extremely interested in breakfast. Mira stood beside the stove with a wooden spoon in one hand and stared at him. The wolf sat near the kitchen table, perfectly upright, silver eyes fixed on the pot. "You are enormous, muddy, mysterious, and apparently shameless." His tail touched the floor once. Mira narrowed her eyes. Was that agreement? The tail moved again. She pointed the spoon at him. "You understand me far too well." He looked at the pot. "Fine." Mira ladled oat porridge into the largest bowl she owned. It was old, wooden, and chipped along one edge. She placed it on the floor. The wolf sniffed, then looked at her. "That is breakfast." He looked at the bowl again. "Yes, I know it is not meat." His expression remained deeply unimpressed. Mira put both hands on her hips. "You were dying in the mud 6 hours ago. Your standards are remarkable." Slowly, the wolf lowered his head and ate. Mira tried not to smile. Failed. The strange thing was how ordinary the moment felt. Not safe, exactly. But the cottage no longer felt empty. That unsettled her more than his teeth. Mira turned back to the stove. The room still looked as if a storm had happened indoors. Wet towels hung from chairs. Mud streaked the floor. One bucket lay upside down beneath the table. She had lost a slipper somewhere during the bath, probably under the wolf. Do not move." The wolf froze. Mira stared, then crouched. Her missing slipper was beneath one of his front paws. "You did that on purpose." He lifted the paw. The slipper was flattened. Mira sighed. Wonderful. She reached for it. The moment her fingers brushed his leg, pain shot through her own calf. Mira gasped. The slipper dropped. The wolf surged upright. His head came level with her chest, silver eyes sharp with concern. Mira grabbed the table. The pain had not come from her body. She knew that much. It had started exactly where his injured leg had twitched. "What is happening to me?" The wolf stepped closer. She raised one hand. "Stay." He stopped. Again. Not like a trained animal. Like someone choosing to respect the request. Mira breathed slowly until the pain faded. When she straightened, the wolf was still watching her. "You felt that too." He blinked. "Of course you cannot answer." A knock rattled the front door. Mira jumped. The spoon slipped from her hand. It hit the floor. The wolf looked down at it. Not one word. A second knock came. "Mira?" She recognized Tessa from the pack kitchens. Mira opened the door only a crack. Tessa stood beneath a dripping hood with a basket on her arm. Her nose wrinkled. "Why does it smell like wet dog?" Mira smiled too quickly. "Roof leak." Tessa stared. "Your roof smells like wolf?" "Yes." "No." Mira tried to close the door. Tessa planted a boot against it. "Garrick wants everyone at the hall before noon." "Why?" "Scouts found blood near the southern road." Behind Mira, the wolf went perfectly still. Tessa continued. "They think a rogue crossed packland during the storm." Mira felt the air in the cottage change. Not cold, tense. The wolf understood. Of course he did. Tessa leaned closer. "You really have not heard anything?" "No." The lie came out smoothly. That surprised Mira. She was usually terrible at lying. Then again, most of her lies had never protected anyone before. Tessa lowered her voice. "Be careful. Garrick told the hunters to kill it if it resists." Mira's stomach tightened. "Kill it? If it is injured, it could be dangerous." "So could Garrick before breakfast." Tessa snorted. Then her gaze dropped to Mira's bare foot. "Where is your other slipper?" "Complicated morning." "I see." She clearly did not. When Tessa finally left, Mira closed the door and turned. The wolf stood behind her. "You heard all of that." His ears remained forward. Mira crossed her arms. "They're looking for you." He walked toward the door. Something unexpectedly sharp moved through her chest. "Wait." The wolf stopped. Mira hated that she had said it. "You should go." His silver eyes held hers. "If they find you here, they will blame me." Still he watched. "And if you stay, they may kill you." Nothing. Mira stepped aside and opened the door. Gray daylight spilled across the floor. There. The wolf approached the threshold. For a second, relief and disappointment fought inside her. He stepped outside, then paused in the rain. Mira folded her arms tightly. "Go." The wolf looked back. "Please." This time he disappeared into the trees. Mira shut the door. The cottage became too quiet. She immediately hated herself for noticing. By midday, she had scrubbed the mud from the floor, found her slipper, burned the porridge, repaired a torn towel, and dropped 3 spoons. The third spoon made her stop. Mira stared at her hand. It was shaking. Not much. Enough. She had always been clumsy. Everyone knew that. Mira drops trays. Mira spills water. Mira trips over her skirts. The jokes had followed her since childhood, but this trembling felt different. It had started after the pain in the wolf's leg. A dull ache now sat beneath her ribs. His ribs. Mira pressed a palm against her side. Nothing was bruised, yet she could feel pressure there. A memory surfaced. Her mother tying a green ribbon around Mira's wrist after she had fainted beside an injured pack child. "You feel too much," she had whispered. Mira had been 8. She had thought her mother meant emotions. Maybe she had not. Mira opened the small cupboard above the stove. Behind jars of dried rosemary and mint lay an old silver bracelet, her mother's. 3 tiny circles were engraved around a simple heart. Mira slipped it over her wrist. The shaking eased, barely. A howl sounded from the forest. Mira turned toward the window. Another howl answered farther away. Then silence. She should have stayed inside. Instead, she grabbed her coat. Idiot. She was not sure whether she meant herself or the wolf. The rain had weakened to mist. Mira followed enormous paw prints through the trees until they vanished near the creek. Then she heard breathing, heavy, uneven. The wolf lay beneath a fallen cedar. His entire body trembled. Shadow. The name escaped without permission. His eyes opened. Black had begun bleeding into the silver. Mira dropped beside him. What happened? He tried to stand. Failed. Mira touched his shoulder. Pain slammed into her. Her vision flashed white. A dark substance moved beneath his skin around the puncture she had found during the bath. Not blood, something colder. Mira pulled her hand away. The pain lessened. She touched him again. It returned, and the black stain beneath his fur receded. Mira stared. No. She pressed her palm more firmly against the wound. The stain withdrew another inch. At the same moment, agony spread through her own shoulder. Mira bit back a cry. The wolf lifted his head. His gaze sharpened. He understood. She could see it. "You're hurting me." The wolf tried to pull away. Mira held on. "And I'm helping you." He resisted. "Stop being noble. It is irritating." His ears flattened. "Good. Be offended." Mira breathed through the pain. Slowly, the darkness retreated from his eyes. Silver returned. Then the pressure inside her became too much. Her fingers went numb. She released him. A wave of dizziness hit. Mira reached for the tree, missed. Her shoulder struck the ground. The wolf immediately stood over her. "That was graceful." He nudged her face. "I'm fine." He nudged again. "I said fine." His expression suggested he had reached a different medical conclusion. Mira laughed weakly. "You are very judgmental for someone I washed mud out of." The wolf lowered himself beside her. Warm fur pressed against her back. Mira rested there until the spinning stopped. Without thinking, she began humming, a tune her mother used to sing while cutting herbs. The words came next. "When kings become wolves, follow the quiet heart home." The wolf went rigid. Mira stopped humming. His head snapped toward her. "What?" The silver eyes widened. Not animal surprise. Recognition. Mira sat up. "You know that song." The wolf backed away one step. Her pulse quickened. "My mother taught it to me." He looked toward the trees. Shadow. His head turned at the name. "There. You understand that too." For one long second, Mira had the absurd feeling that there was a man trapped behind those eyes, trying very hard not to speak. Then a horn sounded in the distance. The wolf rose, not the rough hunting horn Garrick's men used. This was deeper, clearer. A second answered from the northern ridge, then a third. Mira stood. The wolf stared toward the sound. His posture changed completely. Pain remained, but something else replaced weakness. "Authority." Another horn answered. Closer. Mira's stomach dropped. These are not Briar Glen hunters. The wolf looked at her, then began walking toward the cottage. Not away from it. Where are you going? He kept moving. Mira followed. By the time they reached the clearing, the rain had stopped. The wolf entered the cottage and sat beside the kitchen table, exactly where he had been that morning. Mira stared at him. You came back. His gaze shifted toward the chipped wooden bowl still sitting on the floor. Mira laughed, despite herself. You nearly collapsed in the forest, and you are thinking about breakfast. His tail tapped once. She shook her head. Unbelievable. Then she noticed something beneath the fur at his neck. A narrow leather cord. Mud had hidden it before. Mira reached toward it. The wolf went still. May I? After a moment, he lowered his head. Mira pulled the cord free. A small black metal disc hung from it. On one side was a wolf beneath a crown. On the other, a symbol she did not recognize. The silver bracelet on Mira's wrist became suddenly warm. The wolf stared at it. Mira stared at the disc. Then came the sound of horses. Many horses. Fast. The black wolf rose. Mira moved to the window. Dark figures poured through the trees. Not hunters. Armored riders. Silver banners. Royal colors. The first rider entered the clearing and shouted, "Surround the cottage!" Mira's heart slammed against her ribs. She looked at the enormous black wolf. He was no longer trembling. He stood perfectly still beside her table, silver eyes fixed on the approaching soldiers. And for the first time, Mira wondered whether the strangers outside were searching for a rogue wolf at all. Maybe they were searching for him. The first royal guard reached Mira's door before she could decide whether hiding an enormous black wolf inside a one-room cottage counted as treason. A mailed fist struck the wood. Open in the name of the crown. Mira looked at Shadow. Shadow looked at the door. You could have mentioned the army. His ears twitched. Very helpful. Another blow shook the hinges. Mira shoved the black disc beneath her collar, grabbed the fireplace poker, and opened the door. A wall of armored men filled the clearing, at least 30. Their breastplates bore the silver wolfen crown insignia of the Northern Crown territories. At their center stood a broad-shouldered man with graying hair and a scar cutting through his left eyebrow. His gaze swept over Mira, then past her, every muscle in his body locked. Mira tightened her grip on the poker. If you are looking for a wounded wolf, he has not attacked anyone. The commander's face went strangely pale. Move aside. No. Several soldiers exchanged looks. The commander stared at her as though he had misheard. Girl, Mira. What? My name is Mira. His jaw flexed. Mira, move away from the animal. He is injured. That is not an animal. The words landed oddly. Behind her, claws clicked against the floorboards. Mira turned. Shadow stepped into the doorway. Rainwater still darkened the fur around his paws. The puncture at his shoulder remained hidden beneath black fur, but nothing about him looked helpless now. He lifted his head. The clearing changed. 30 trained warriors stopped breathing. The commander dropped to one knee. Every soldier followed. Armor struck wet earth in a rolling metallic crash. Mira stared. The commander bowed his head. Your Majesty. The fireplace poker slipped from Mira's fingers. It hit the porch. Nobody moved. Mira looked at Shadow, then at the kneeling soldiers, then back at Shadow. No. One black ear tilted toward her. No. His silver eyes held hers. Mira pointed at him. I fed you porridge. A soldier near the rear made a dangerous choking sound. Mira ignored him. I washed you in my laundry tub. Shadow's expression remained infuriatingly calm. You stole my slipper. The commander's mouth twitched. Mira swung toward him. Do not laugh. I would not dare. You are already kneeling in my herb garden. He looked down. One armored knee had crushed her rosemary. His amusement vanished. My apologies. Mira stared at the black wolf again. Alpha King Rowan Thorne? Shadow blinked once. She closed her eyes. Of course the injured stray she had dragged through mud, argued with over breakfast, and named Shadow was the most powerful alpha in the Northern Territories. Her life had always possessed a cruel sense of humor. The commander rose slowly. My name is Commander Elias Ward. His Majesty disappeared 2 nights ago after his escort was attacked south of Briar Glen. Mira opened her eyes. Attacked by whom, we do not know. Then perhaps standing in an open clearing announcing you found him is not your finest strategy. Elias studied her. A flicker of respect replaced irritation. He turned. Perimeter. Double watch. No one leaves the clearing. The guards moved immediately. Mira looked at Rowan. See? That was useful communication. His tail tapped once. She almost laughed. Then Rowan staggered. Mira moved before anyone else. Her hand landed against his neck. Pain exploded behind her ribs. She gasped. Rowan collapsed against her. The soldiers surged forward. Stop! Mira's shout froze them. Not because it carried power, because Rowan's growl did. The enormous wolf lay half against her body, teeth exposed toward his own guards. Elias lifted both hands. Stand down. Mira pressed her palm into Rowan's fur. Darkness threaded beneath the skin around his old wound. More than before. Much more. It is spreading. A woman pushed through the soldiers carrying a leather case. She was perhaps 50, with silver braided through black hair. Let me see him, Rowan growled. The woman stopped. Majesty, I have treated you since you were 12. His growl deepened. Mira looked down at him. Do not be difficult. The growl stopped. Every soldier in the clearing stared at her, Mira noticed. What? The healer's eyebrows rose. Nothing. You all keep making that face. What face? The one suggesting I have done something impossible. The healer knelt. My name is Dr. Helena Voss. Mira Vale. Helena examined Rowan's shoulder without touching him. Her expression hardened. Moonbane. Elias swore quietly. Mira looked between them. What is Moonbane? A compound designed for shifters, Helena said. It disrupts the bridge between human consciousness and wolf instinct. Mira's hand tightened in Rowan's fur. Can you cure it? If caught early. And now? Helena did not answer immediately. Mira hated her for that pause. Doctor, His Majesty has been exposed for nearly 2 days. The forest seemed suddenly too quiet. Helena continued. At this stage, he should not be capable of recognizing us consistently. Mira looked down. Rowan was watching her, completely aware. He recognizes me. I can see that. He understands everything I say. Elias glanced at Helena. The healer's attention shifted to Mira's hand. Remove your palm. Mira hesitated. Rowan nudged her wrist. She slowly lifted her hand. His breathing changed almost immediately. Faster. The black stain beneath his skin spread. Touch him again, Helena said. Mira did. Rowan exhaled. The stain stopped moving. Nobody spoke. Helena reached for Mira's wrist. The old silver bracelet slipped from beneath her sleeve. The healer froze. 3 circles surrounding a heart. Her thumb hovered above the symbol. Where did you get this? My mother. What was her name? Leora Vale. Helena's face lost color. Elias noticed. What is it? Nothing I'm prepared to explain without evidence. Mira pulled her wrist back. That answer usually means something terrible. Helena stood. It means His Majesty needs shelter. Mira looked at the cottage. 30 soldiers looked at the cottage. It barely held Mira, Rowan, and her collection of badly organized herbs. Elias cleared his throat. We have a royal field pavilion. Excellent. Rowan rose, then walked into Mira's cottage. Elias stared after him. Mira folded her arms. Apparently His Majesty has other plans. For the next hour, the clearing transformed into a military camp. Royal tents appeared between trees. Guards established rotating watches. Helena occupied half Mira's kitchen table with bottles and instruments. Rowan remained beside the hearth. Mira sat opposite him. Nobody had yet explained how a king became human again. She finally asked. Helena looked up from grinding dried leaves, moonbane blocks voluntary shifting. We can attempt to force the transformation. Force it will hurt. Rowan's eyes narrowed. Mira immediately disliked the plan. Other options? Time. How much? Helena looked towards the window. Clouds were already thinning above the western ridge. Until moonrise tomorrow. The words settled heavily. Elias stepped inside. And if he has not stabilized by then? Helena's hand stopped. The full moon strengthens wolf instinct. Mira understood before she finished. He could lose the human part. Permanently. Rowan showed no visible reaction. Mira felt one anyway. A sudden pressure beneath her sternum. Fear, not hers. She looked at him. His silver eyes shifted toward her. The sensation disappeared behind something disciplined and cold. You are afraid? Elias inhaled sharply. Mira ignored him. Rowan looked offended. Oh, stop. Kings are allowed to be afraid. His ears flattened, especially kings poisoned by people trying to turn them into permanent wolves. Helena watched them with unsettling concentration. Mira rubbed her arms. The pressure beneath her ribs had returned. How long until moonrise? Approximately 30 hours. There it was. A deadline, not abstract, not political. 30 hours before the wolf sitting beside Mira's hearth might become the only part of Rowan Thorne left. Helena prepared a dark liquid. We begin now. The treatment did not go well. Rowan drank the medicine voluntarily. 5 minutes later, his entire body seized. Mira dropped beside him, Rowan. It was the first time she used his real name. His claws gouged the floorboards. Black swallowed the silver in his eyes. Helena shouted something. Mira did not hear it. She placed both hands against his face. Pain tore through her body, her shoulder, her ribs, her spine. None of it belonged to her, Rowan's. She knew that now. Come back. His jaws opened. A guard reached for his sword. Elias knocked the man's hand away. Mira held Rowan's gaze. Listen to me. The darkness in his eyes churned. You ruined my towels. His breathing hitched. You flattened my slipper. Silver flickered. You hated my porridge. One ear moved. Mira laughed through tears. There you are. The black receded. Rowan collapsed. So did Mira. Elias caught her before her head struck the floor. The moment contact broke, Rowan snarled. Mira pushed away from Elias and reached for him again. The growl stopped. Helena stared at them. This is impossible. Mira was beginning to hate that word. What? The medicine should have triggered a complete feral response, but it did not. No. Helena looked at Mira's bracelet again. Because of you. Mira shook her head. I did nothing. You stabilized an Alpha King poisoned with enough moonbane to destroy 3 ordinary shifters. I touched him. Yes, that is not a power. Helena's expression softened. Perhaps no one ever taught you what it was. A horn sounded outside. Not royal, rough, local. Mira knew it instantly. Briar Glen. Elias stood. How many? A guard answered from outside. 20 riders. Mira's stomach tightened. Garrick? Rowan lifted his head, even weakened. Something dangerous entered the room. Elias stepped toward the door. His Majesty is in no condition to receive a territorial alpha. Mira almost agreed. Then a voice carried across the clearing. Commander Ward, Garrick Vane. Mira had heard that voice command pack gathering since childhood. Briar Glen demands an explanation for armed crown forces occupying our land. Elias muttered, Of course he does. Mira stood, her knees nearly buckled. Rowan rose with her. No. She pointed at the hearth. You stay. The Alpha King sat. Elias stared. Mira rubbed her forehead. Please stop reacting every time he listens to me. Elias opened the door. Garrick stood beyond the porch, surrounded by Briar Glen wolves. His gaze found Mira first. Disapproval appeared immediately. Mira Vale. There it was. The tone she knew. The one that turned her name into an inconvenience. Alpha Garrick. What are you doing here? Mira looked at her cottage. I live here. Several royal guards lowered their eyes, hiding smiles. Garrick's face hardened. Then he saw Rowan. The color drained from it. For half a heartbeat, something moved across Garrick's expression. Not surprise. Fear. Then it vanished. He bowed deeply. Your Majesty. Rowan remained in wolf form. Garrick looked toward Elias. What happened? That information is restricted. This attack occurred inside my territory, and yet you seem remarkably certain there was an attack. Silence. Garrick's eyes sharpened. I was informed Crown Scouts found blood. Mira watched him. Something felt wrong. Not the words. The speed of the answer. Rowan's attention had fixed on Garrick, too. Garrick noticed Mira's hand resting in Rowan's fur. His mouth tightened. Mira, step away from His Majesty. She blinked. Why? You are an Omega. The old shame arrived on instinct. Small, fast, familiar. Then Rowan moved. He stepped between them. Garrick stiffened. Mira stared at the massive black back, now blocking her from her alpha. Rowan did not growl. He did not need to. Garrick's wolf understood the message. His shoulders lowered slightly. Mira noticed. So did everyone else. Garrick recovered. Your Majesty, she is clumsy, untrained, and has no understanding of royal protocol. Whatever assistance she provided, I assure you Briar Glen can place someone more appropriate at your disposal. Something inside. Mira sank, not because the words were new, because they were not. Then pressure rolled through the clearing, heavy, ancient, absolute. Every shifter reacted. Royal guards lowered their heads. Briar Glen warriors dropped to one knee. Garrick's jaw clenched as his body fought the command. King's command. Mira felt it move over her skin like distant thunder, then pass. She remained standing. Garrick saw. His expression changed. Helena saw too. Her eyes dropped, immediately to Mira's bracelet. 3 circles, a heart. Rowan looked back at Mira. For the first time since she had found him in the mud, his expression held unmistakable shock. Mira swallowed. "What?" No one answered. Garrick rose slowly. His face had become unreadable, but Mira caught one thing before he hid it. Fear. Not of Rowan, of her. Garrick's fear lasted less than a second, then he covered it with anger. Enough. The word cracked across the clearing. No one moved. That was the problem. Briar Glen wolves were still recovering from Rowan's king's command. Royal soldiers remained tense. Mira stood beside the black wolf, untouched by an authority powerful enough to force stronger shifters to their knees. Garrick looked at her as if she had broken a law simply by remaining upright. "What did you do?" Mira blinked. "To what?" "To His Majesty's command." "I stood here." His mouth tightened. Helena stepped out of the cottage, Alpha vain. Garrick did not look at her. "What is she?" Mira felt the old sting behind the question. Not who. What? Rowan heard it too. His fur lifted. Mira rested her palm against his shoulder. "Do not." The tension eased beneath her hand. Garrick noticed. Again. He had spent years training Mira to believe every mistake proved her weakness. Now every small thing she did seemed to make him more afraid. Helena moved closer. "Mira, show me the bracelet." Mira glanced at her wrist. 3 circles surrounding a heart. Her mother's old silver bracelet had never seemed important before yesterday. Now Helena looked at it like evidence recovered from a grave. Garrick stepped forward. "We have larger concerns." Elias blocked him. "Then you can explain why an attack on the Alpha King occurred inside your territory. I already told you. I knew nothing about it. You knew there was an attack before Commander Ward said there was one." Garrick's face hardened. "I inferred it. Conveniently." A low murmur moved through the royal guards. Garrick's wolves shifted behind him. Mira felt irritation ripple through them. Then something else. Fear. Not fear of Rowan. Fear of Garrick. That surprised her. She had always thought Briar Glen obeyed him because they respected him. Maybe she had confused obedience with loyalty. Garrick turned towards his warriors, returned to the pack hall. No one moved immediately. His expression sharpened. That was an order. The pack obeyed. Mira watched them disappear through the trees. One young wolf looked back at her. He seemed ashamed. Garrick remained. Rowan growled. Elias said, "You should leave as well. I will not abandon my territory while the king is poisoned." Helena looked up. "You know he was poisoned?" Garrick went still. Mira's pulse quickened. Elias's hand moved toward his sword. Garrick recovered. "You said Moonbane." "No," Helena replied. "I said that inside the cottage." Silence dropped over the clearing. Garrick's eyes flicked toward Mira. Not Elias, not Rowan. Mira, she understood. He had not come because royal guards invaded Briar Glen. He had come because someone told him Rowan had survived, and now he was looking at Mira because she had made that survival possible. "Who told you?" Elias asked. Garrick smiled without warmth. "You are building conspiracy from overheard words. You did not overhear them. Then arrest me." Elias took one step. Rowan growled sharply. Everyone turned. The black wolf's body had gone rigid. Mira felt pain slam through her ribs. She gasped. Helena rushed forward. Moonbane. Dark veins surfaced beneath Rowan's fur, faster than before. Mira dropped beside him, Rowan. His eyes found hers. Black spread across the silver. She put both hands against his face. Pain tore through her shoulders. The world tilted. Helena shouted, Mira, let go. No, you're taking it into yourself. I know. She had not known until the words left her mouth, but suddenly the pattern was obvious. Every time Rowan improved, she worsened. The shaking, the dizziness, the bruised sensations where she had no injuries. She had not been curing him. She had been carrying part of what hurt him. Rowan tried to pull away. Mira held tighter. Do not start being noble now. His breathing came hard. Black receded from one eye. Helena grabbed Mira's wrist. Mira, listen to me. This is not sustainable. Then give me something else. I do not have something else. Garrick laughed, quietly, too quietly. Mira turned. He was smiling. Elias saw it too. What did you do? Garrick raised both hands. Nothing. Rowan convulsed. His claws tore into the earth. Mira screamed as pain ripped through her own spine. Helena stared at the wound near Rowan's shoulder. Then her face changed. The original puncture. What about it? It is not only a delivery wound. She reached for a small knife. Rowan snapped at her. Mira said, Letter? His jaws closed. Helena cut through the matted fur surrounding the puncture. A tiny black shard gleamed beneath the skin. Mira's stomach dropped. A second dose? Helena's face went pale, an enchanted reservoir. Elias turned on Garrick. You knew. Garrick's expression hardened. I know nothing about forbidden poisons. Yet you arrived before we announced His Majesty had been poisoned. You keep repeating the same accusation because you keep failing to answer it. Garrick looked toward the forest. A horn sounded, then another, not royal guard signals. Briar Glen. Elias drew his sword. Garrick smiled. This is my territory. Shapes appeared between the trees. Dozens of pack warriors, more than before. Royal soldiers formed a defensive ring around the cottage. Mira looked at Garrick. You sent your wolves away to bring more. I sent them to protect their home. From what? His gaze moved to Rowan, a monarchy that believes one man's blood should command every pack in the north. There it was, not an excuse, a belief. Garrick stepped into the clearing. My father ruled Briar Glen before me. He built roads, granaries, shelters. Then Rowan's father redrew the western boundaries with one decree and handed our richest hunting land to a pack that had supported his campaign, Elias said. That decree ended a border war. It starved 43 Briar Glen families. Mira had heard stories about that winter. She had never heard Garrick explain it. Garrick looked at Rowan. The crown calls it balance when everyone else pays the price. Mira felt something uncomfortable. Truth. Not enough to justify murder. Enough to explain hatred. Rowan's black eyes remained fixed on Garrick. Garrick continued. Local packs kneel. The crown decides. Then royal healers and soldiers arrive and tell us what sacrifice is necessary. Helena's expression tightened. You tried to erase a man's mind. I tried to remove a throne. You poisoned Rowan. I gave the North a chance to survive without a sovereign forcing obedience into our bones. Mira looked at the warriors around Garrick. Some were afraid, some angry, some believed him. That was more dangerous than simple cruelty. You could have challenged the law, Mira said. Garrick looked at her. I did. And the council buried every petition. His eyes sharpened. That is what people like you never understand. Mira almost laughed. People like me, people without responsibility. The words hit an old wound. Omega Clumsy burden. Garrick continued. You spill soup and everyone laughs. I lose a harvest and children freeze. Mira stood slowly. Rowan remained at her side, trembling. You're right about one thing. Garrick blinked. The crown failed Briar Glen if 43 families nearly starved and no one listened. Elias looked at her. So did Helena. Garrick's expression shifted. Mira continued. But you decided being ignored gave you permission to decide who could be destroyed. His jaw tightened. You poisoned a man, a king. A man. Rowan's silver eye flickered. Mira took another step. You used your own warriors without telling them what they were protecting. They protect Briar Glen. Do they know you nearly turned their king feral? The warriors behind Garrick shifted. Good. He heard it too. Doubt. Garrick's face hardened. You think kindness makes you wise? No. Mira looked down at her shaking hands. I think being treated as disposable taught me what disposable looks like, that landed. Garrick's wolf surged beneath his skin. His eyes flashed amber. Step away from the king. No. Mira, no. You are an Omega in a conflict you do not understand, Rowan growled. Mira held up one hand. This time she did not touch him. I understand enough. Garrick's control broke. Submit Alpha Command hit the clearing. Briar Glen warriors dropped instantly. Several royal guards staggered. Even Elias bent one knee before forcing himself upright. Mira felt the command strike. Pressure flooded the air. Her body waited for something to happen. Nothing did. She remained standing. Garrick stared. Submit. More force. Wet earth cracked beneath his boots. Mira's bracelet turned warm. 3 silver circles brightened around the engraved heart. She did not move. Garrick's face changed. Confusion first, then anger. He stepped closer. Kneel. Nothing, Helena whispered behind Mira. Oh, moon above. Garrick heard her. His eyes snapped toward the bracelet. Recognition arrived, not complete, enough to frighten him. No. Helena moved beside Mira. What? Mira asked. The healer's gaze remained on the bracelet. Stillheart. The word passed through the clearing. Garrick shook his head. No. That bloodline ended. Mira stared at Helena. What is a Stillheart? Garrick answered first. A mistake, Rowan roared. The black wolf launched himself forward. Then the enchanted shard inside his shoulder flared. His body collapsed mid-stride. Mira ran. She hit the ground beside him. His eyes were fully black. Helena shouted. The reservoir released everything. How long? Minutes. Garrick backed toward his warriors. Elias raised his sword. Do not move. Garrick ignored him. Let the king fall. Mira looked up. His fear was becoming desperation. You wanted this. I wanted freedom. You wanted everyone else to pay for it. Garrick's face twisted. He is already gone. Mira looked at Rowan. The beast stared back. No recognition. No silver. Her heart broke. Then Rowan's nose moved. Once, he smelled her. His head tilted. A thread. Tiny. Still there. Mira remembered rain hammering her roof, mud across her floor, a ridiculous bath, a chipped wooden bowl, the wolf returning to her kitchen instead of disappearing into the forest. She touched his forehead. The world inside her exploded. Pain, rage, moonbane. Rowan's instincts slammed into her like a flood. Mira nearly tore her hand away. Then something else rose. Not power in the way Garrick understood power. Not dominance, stillness, absolute stillness. The growls in the clearing died. Briar Glen wolves stopped struggling against Garrick's command. Royal wolves lifted their heads. Rowan's beast froze beneath Mira's palm. The bracelet around her wrist blazed silver. 3 circles, 1 heart. Helena dropped to one knee. Not compelled, reverent, Stillheart. Garrick stared. His arrogance vanished. He looked at Mira's hand, at Rowan, at the warriors no longer responding to alpha pressure, then at his own trembling fingers. Confusion, recognition, denial, no. He tried again. Kneel. Nothing. Not Mira. Not his warriors. The command dissolved before reaching them. Garrick stepped backward. That is impossible. Mira looked at him through tears. You keep saying that about me. Fear entered his face. Pure now. The woman he had laughed at for dropping trays was not stronger than him. That was worse. She existed outside the system that made his strength matter. Rowan shuddered. Mira gasped. The moonbane flooded into her. Her knees buckled. Helena shouted her name. Mira held on. Rowan. Nothing. She pushed deeper. Remember the bath? A faint silver line appeared in one eye. You shook water over everything I owned. Another flicker. You hated my porridge. His breathing changed. You came back. Silver broke through black. Mira smiled weakly. There you are. Rowan surged upright. Not feral, not fully healed, himself. Garrick stared at the king, then at Mira. He finally understood the size of his mistake. Rowan had survived because of the Omega Garrick had spent years teaching everyone to dismiss. Elias moved. Royal guards seized Garrick. His warriors did not resist. Garrick looked at Mira as they bound his hands. You think this changes the crown? No. She was shaking badly now, but it changes what Rowan knows. The Alpha King turned his silver gaze toward Garrick. Mira continued. You were right that Briar Glen was ignored. Garrick stopped struggling. You were wrong about what that gave you permission to become. For the first time, he looked ashamed. Only for a second. Then Mira's legs failed. Rowan shifted. Bone and fur blurred beneath silver light. A human man caught her before she struck the ground. Mira had never seen him before, yet she knew the silver eyes immediately. Rowan Thorne held her against his chest. Mira. His voice was rough, human. She tried to smile. You are less furry than expected. A stunned laugh escaped Elias. Rowan almost smiled. Then Mira heard something. A heartbeat beneath Rowan's ribs. Then another. Not physical. His wolf. She could feel it, too clearly. Mira stiffened. Rowan looked down. What is it? Another wolf touched her awareness. Helena's. Then Elias's. Then Garrick's terrified animal beating against the inside of his chest. Mira pulled away. More arrived. Dozens. Every shifter in the clearing. Fear, pain, hunger, submission, anger. All of it pouring through her. The Stillheart calm vanished. Her hands began shaking violently. Rowan reached for her. Mira backed away. Do not. He stopped instantly. Helena's face changed. The cost. Mira could barely hear her through the rising instincts. What cost? Helena looked at the glowing bracelet. You did not silence the moonbane. Mira's stomach turned. You carried it. A wave of Rowan's beast crashed through her mind. Mira grabbed her head. She could feel everyone. But somewhere beneath all those wolves, she could no longer find the small, familiar place that belonged only to herself. She looked at Rowan. I can still feel your wolf. Then she heard 20 more, and Mira understood that saving the king had not ended the danger. It had moved inside her. Mira heard the wolves before she heard Rowan, not with her ears. Inside. The moment her knees touched the cottage floor, a dozen instincts crashed through her at once. Helena's wolf recoiled from the scent of moonbane. Elias's wolf wanted to guard the door. A young soldier outside was hungry. Another was terrified. Garrick's wolf beat against restraint like a trapped animal. And Rowan's black wolf filled the center of everything. Huge, protective, furious. Mira. His human voice reached her from somewhere far away. She pressed both hands over her ears. It changed nothing. Make them stop. Rowan crouched several feet away. He did not touch her. That mattered. Even now, with fear cutting through his face, he waited. Helena entered behind him. "Mira, look at me. I cannot. You can." "No." The wolves surged again. Mira gasped. Someone outside remembered a dead brother. Someone else's fear of fire burned through her chest. A horse panicked at the smell of blood. None of it belonged to her. All of it felt real. I do not know which feelings are mine. Helena's face tightened. The still heart awakening opened your sensitivity completely. Close it. I do not know how. Mira laughed once. It sounded wrong. Excellent. Rowan's wolf reacted to the bitterness in her voice. She felt the beast move before Rowan did. Mira looked at him sharply. Do not come closer. He stopped immediately. Helena noticed. So did Mira. The Alpha King had every instinctive reason to move toward his mate. He chose not to. Everyone out, Rowan said. Elias hesitated. Majesty, outside, voluntarily. That last word was for Mira. She knew it. Elias nodded and cleared the cottage. Helena remained near the door. I am staying. Mira wanted to argue. Then another wave hit. Her shoulder burned with pain that was not hers. Her stomach twisted with someone else's hunger. Her hands started shaking. Rowan watched them. You are not always clumsy. The question hurt because it was true. Mira looked away. I have always been clumsy. Were you? She opened her mouth. Memories surfaced. Age 8, dropping a bowl beside an injured child. Age 11, falling down the herb room steps while 3 warriors returned from battle. Age 14, spilling boiling tea at the exact moment her mother collapsed from fever. Mira went still. No. Helena stepped closer. The symptoms may have begun when your still heart sensitivity developed. Mira stared at her. You mean everyone laughed at me for years because I was feeling other people's pain? Not all of it. Helena softened slightly. You also trip over your skirts. Mira almost smiled. Almost. Then Garrick's fear crashed through the walls. She doubled over. Rowan moved 1 step. Mira raised a hand. He stopped. I said no. I know. The answer carried no frustration, only restraint. Mira hated how much safer that made her feel. Helena knelt beside the old kitchen table. Your mother understood this. Mira looked toward the bracelet around her wrist, 3 circles around a heart. What was she? A still heart. The cottage seemed to narrow around the word. My mother never told me. She may have been protecting you. From whom? Helena's gaze went toward the window. The crown, once. Rowan's expression changed. Mira saw it. Helena continued. Still hearts were never servants to kings. They were counterweights. They could calm a sovereign without submitting to him. Mira remembered Garrick shouting kneel. Nothing had happened, which made them dangerous. To bad kings, Helena said. Rowan looked at her. And to good kings who feared becoming bad ones. Silence. Mira studied him. That answer was not defensive. It was honest. Helena touched the bracelet carefully. Your mother probably hid what you were, because every power structure eventually tries to own what it cannot control, Mira whispered. She used to sing to me." Helena looked up. When kings become wolves, follow the quiet heart home. The physician closed her eyes. "There it is." "What? The old still heart verse?" Mira's breath caught. It was not a lullaby. It became one. Helena smiled sadly. History survives in strange ways. Another rush of wolf instinct struck. This time Mira saw flashes, trees, blood snow, a den, a child's hand. The memories overlapped until she could not tell whether any belonged to her. She staggered toward the back door. Rowan rose. "Where are you going?" "Outside." "Why?" "Because there are fewer people. There are wild wolves in the forest." "Exactly." Helena frowned. "Mira, I need space." She opened the door. Cold air hit her face. For 1 second, relief. Then Rowan's wolf surged through the bond, not command. Fear. Mira turned. He remained where she had left him, hands at his sides, jaw tight. "You're afraid I will run?" "Yes." The honesty stopped her. Mira looked toward the trees. Running had always been her answer. "Leave before you become a burden. Leave before someone asks you to. Leave before they discover you are too much work." She stepped outside anyway, not to escape, to breathe. The forest was quiet. The royal guard had moved back from the cottage. Garrick was secured near the road. His eyes found Mira. His wolf recoiled. Mira felt it. She hated that. She walked towards the trees. The farther she moved from the soldiers, the quieter the noise became. Knock on, manageable. Mira placed one hand against a cedar trunk. Then a wild wolf miles away caught a rabbit. Hunger slammed through Mira. She fell to one knee. Mira Rowan's voice behind her. She spun. He stood at the edge of the clearing, not closer. "I told you not to follow me. You told me not to come closer." Annoyingly precise. Mira looked away. "I can handle this." Rowan was silent. Then he said, "No." Her anger flared. He continued before she could answer. "Neither could I." That stopped her. He walked one step closer. "Moonbane was destroying my mind. I believed control would solve it. Another step. It did not." Mira's throat tightened. "You had me. Yes. And now you think I need you. No." He held her gaze. "I think you should be allowed to choose whether you want me." The difference landed deep. Mira looked at his hands. Open, empty, no command. "No demand. What can you do?" "Helena believes my king's command can carry part of the pressure." Mira immediately shook her head. "No, it would not be a command." "How?" "By opening the mate bond voluntarily. You would feel all of this. Yes, you just survived Moonbane. Yes, you could lose control again. Yes." Mira glared. "Stop agreeing with everything." A faint smile touched his mouth. "No." Despite herself, she laughed. The laugh broke into a sob. Mira covered her face. "I do not want to be this." Rowan's expression changed. "This? A problem." The words came out smaller than she intended. "A burden." Rowan stepped closer. Mira did not stop him. "All my life, people had to clean up after me. Carry things because I dropped them. Slow down because I tripped. Apologize because I embarrassed the pack." Her voice shook. "And now I finally understand why. And somehow it is worse." "Why?" "Because now hurting other people is part of me." Rowan's jaw tightened. "No. You do not know that. I know you absorbed enough poison to save my mind. That nearly killed me. And you think the conclusion is that you are dangerous?" Mira looked away. Rowan's voice softened. "The conclusion is that you were never taught how to carry what you were born with." She could not answer. He extended one hand. Let me help you learn." Mira stared at it. "What if I hurt you?" "Then I tell you. What if I cannot stop?" "Then I ask you to. What if you decide this is too much?" Rowan did not answer immediately. Finally, he said, "Then I will tell you the truth. I will not disappear and let you invent the reason." Mira looked at him. That was the promise she needed. Honesty, choice. She placed her hand in his. The mate bond opened. Pain hit both of them. Rowan gasped. Mira nearly pulled away. His fingers loosened instantly. "If you want to stop, stop." She held on. No. The wolves inside her surged through the bond. Rowan staggered. His knees hit wet earth. Mira dropped with him. She felt his pain, not just physical, the moonbane residue, the weight of King's command, years of holding his wolf behind discipline, the exhaustion of being watched by everyone and known by almost no one. Rowan cried out. Mira tried to close the bond. He caught her wrist, not forcefully. "Do not protect me from a choice I made." She stared at him, then let the bond remain open. The pressure split, half through her, half through him. For the first time, the noise became shapes instead of a wall. Elias, Helena, the guards, wild wolves, Rowan, and beneath them all, a smaller presence, soft, familiar. Mira closed her eyes. A pale silver she-wolf stood in darkness, cream along her sides, a faint heart-shaped mark beneath her throat. Mira stopped breathing. "You?" The wolf stepped closer. No rage, no accusation, only patience. Mira touched her forehead to the wolf's. The world became quiet, not empty. Ordered. Each instinct returned to where it belonged. Mira opened her eyes. Rowan was still kneeling opposite her. Blood ran from his nose. His face was pale. She immediately closed the bond. He swayed. Mira caught him. "You idiot." His laugh was weak. "You said yes. I was emotionally compromised. So was I." She pressed her forehead against his. Neither moved. The king had lost some of the pressure around him. Mira could feel that too. His king's command was weakened. He had paid for helping her. A shadow fell across them. Helena stood nearby. Mira sighed. "You're terrible at staying away. I am a physician. That is not an excuse." Helena crouched. "How many wolves can you feel?" Mira looked toward the clearing. "All of them." Rowan stiffened. Mira smiled. "But they are not me." Helena exhaled. "Good." She touched Mira's bracelet. The verse was right. Mira looked down. "When kings become wolves, follow the quiet heart home." Helena nodded. Still hearts were not created to kneel beside rulers. Rowan looked at her. They were created to stand beside them. Mira felt something warm move through the bond, not possession. Pride. She let herself feel it. Elias approached from the road carrying a leather packet. Majesty. Rowan stood slowly. "What?" "We searched Garrick's quarters." He handed over a folded document. Inside was a black insignia shaped like a cracked crown. Helena's face hardened. The hollow crown. Mira looked at Rowan. A larger conspiracy? Possibly. Elias nodded. But Garrick's confession is enough to end this attack. Briar Glen is secure. The immediate threat is over. Mira looked toward Garrick. He seemed smaller now, not because he had lost power, because she no longer needed him to define her. Rowan touched her hand. Mira looked down. "Is that permission?" He almost smiled. "May I?" She turned her palm upward. He took it. For years, Mira had believed the strongest thing she could do was make sure nobody ever had to carry her. Now she understood something harder. Sometimes strength was letting someone choose the weight and trusting them enough to believe their answer. The first thing Mira noticed about the royal hall was that everyone expected her to walk differently. Straighter perhaps, slower, certainly without tripping over the edge of the carpet. Her boot caught it anyway. Mira lurched forward. Rowan caught her elbow. Silence swept across the hall. Mira looked at the assembled nobles. "If anyone laughs, I'm going home." Someone coughed. Rowan's mouth curved, an effective opening threat. "I learned from a king. You learned very little from me." "Correct." That earned a few nervous smiles. 3 days had passed since Garrick's arrest. 3 days since Mira had discovered that the weakness Briar Glen mocked was connected to something older than its laws. Stillheart. The word had already traveled farther than she wanted. So had another. Mate. Mira could feel people watching the space between her and Rowan, searching for proof. They would not get it. Not today. Elias stood before the gathered pack leaders. Garrick Vane has confessed to conspiring against the crown, administering Moonbane to his Majesty, and using Briar Glen forces without full disclosure of his intentions. Murmurs spread. His trial will be conducted under Northern law. Garrick was finished. But Rowan had refused to stop there. He rose from his chair. Every voice died. The charges against Garrick are his own. His voice carried without effort. But one truth will not be buried with his crimes. Several nobles stiffened. Briar Glen petitioned the crown repeatedly after losing Western hunting territory. Those petitions were ignored. Mira watched surprise ripple through the hall. Kings were apparently expected to announce victories. Not failures, Rowan continued. Garrick used injustice to justify murder. That does not make the injustice imaginary. An older Alpha frowned. Your Majesty, surely this is not the time to weaken confidence in the crown. Rowan looked at him. If confidence requires pretending we never fail, it deserves to be weakened. Mira felt warmth move quietly through the bond. Not attraction, respect. That mattered more. Rowan announced a council of smaller packs with direct petition rights to the crown. Then he did something Mira had not expected. He looked at her. Mira Vale. Every head turned. Her stomach tightened. She walked forward, carefully. Mostly. Rowan did not extend a hand. He knew better than to make the choice for her. The crown recognizes the surviving Stillheart bloodline. A murmur moved through the room. You may claim residence within the royal household and a formal place beside the sovereign. Mira raised an eyebrow. May? Rowan's silver eyes warmed. May, and if I refuse, then I will be disappointed. A few people looked horrified. Mira smiled, but nothing. There it was again. Choice. The most powerful man in the north could command wolves to kneel. With her? He asked. Mira looked around the hall. For most of her life, she had wanted something embarrassingly small, a place where her mistakes did not make her disposable. Now people were offering titles, rooms, authority. She understood enough to be careful with all three. I will accept one condition. A noble inhaled sharply. Rowan seemed almost entertained. Name it. I do not become useful only because someone discovered an old name for what I am. Silence. I was worth hearing before anyone called me Stillheart. Rowan's expression changed. Softer. Proud. Yes. And I am not taking a place beside you because of the mate bond. Yes, I choose it. Rowan stepped down from the dais. He stopped in front of her. Then I choose you too. No command rolled through the hall. No supernatural force bent anyone's knees. It did not need to. Mira took his hand. This time, everyone understood. Not possession. Partnership. Later, when ceremonies became unbearable and nobles began arguing over titles Mira did not want, she disappeared. Rowan found her before sunset. She was waiting beside 2 horses. "Where are we going?" Mira handed him the reins. "Home." He looked toward the palace, then at her. "The palace is behind us. I know." An hour later, rain began falling. By the time the cottage appeared between the cedars, Mira was laughing. Rowan was not. "You failed to mention the roof still leaks. You're a king. Fix it." "I command armies." "Wonderful. Command someone onto the roof." Mira pushed open the cottage door. Everything was where she had left it. The battered table, the washtub, the crooked shelf, her repaired towels. Then she saw the wooden bowl, chipped along one edge, still sitting near the hearth. Mira picked it up. Rowan became suspicious. "No." She smiled. "What? I know that expression." "You knew my expressions when you were a wolf?" "I knew that one." Mira placed the bowl on the floor. "The Alpha King appears hungry." "Absolutely not. You were less demanding when you had fur. I was poisoned. You still ate the porridge." Under protest. Mira laughed. Then the laughter faded. She looked at the bowl. A question had lived inside her since the morning after the storm. One she had been afraid to ask. "Rowan?" "Yes." "Why did you stay?" He knew exactly what she meant. Not the palace, the cottage, that first morning. He could have disappeared into the forest. Instead, he had returned and sat beside her kitchen table waiting for breakfast. Rowan looked around the tiny room. "When you found me, you thought I was a rogue. I thought you were an unusually rude wolf. You did not know my name. No, my title. No, my territory. No. You believed I had nothing." Mira's fingers tightened around the bowl. Rowan stepped closer. "And you opened the door anyway." Her throat tightened. "You were hurt." "Exactly." He touched the chipped edge of the bowl. "My entire life, people have approached me knowing what I could give them." His silver eyes met hers. "You fed me before you knew I had anything to give." Mira swallowed. The porridge was burned. It was terrible. She laughed through sudden tears. Rowan continued. "The bond did not make me stay." Mira went still. "The crown did not make me stay. Your bloodline did not make me stay." He took her hand. "You did." The answer settled into every place inside Mira that had once believed love had to be earned through usefulness. She leaned her forehead against his chest. His heartbeat was steady. His wolf rested behind it. She could still feel him, but now she could feel herself too. Distinct, whole, chosen. After a moment, Mira looked at the bowl again. "You know, I could still serve your breakfast in this." Rowan sighed. "Mira, Your Majesty?" "No." She grinned. "Only if you sit beside me." Mira looked up. "That can be arranged." Outside, rain whispered against the roof. Inside, the chipped bowl remained between them. Once it had belonged to an Omega who thought she had rescued a stray wolf. Now it reminded them both of something crowns could never guarantee. A door freely opened, a burden freely shared, a place freely chosen. Perhaps that is what this story leaves with us. Real strength is not always the power to make a room kneel. Sometimes it is the courage to remain kind when kindness earns you nothing. Sometimes it is admitting that you cannot carry everything alone. And sometimes the people worth keeping are the ones who recognize your value, before the rest of the world gives it a title. But one question remained. Among Garrick's seized documents, Elias had found the insignia of the Hollow Crown. Someone else had helped arrange Rowan's attack. Someone powerful. Someone still free. If Mira and Rowan discover that the person behind the Hollow Crown is someone Rowan once trusted completely, what should they do? Offer that person one chance to confess, or show no mercy after what happened? Tell me what you would choose in the comments. And if Mira and Rowan's story stayed with you, you can gently support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing so we can meet again for another story. Wherever you are listening tonight, may the days ahead bring peace to your home, strength to your heart, good health to you and the people you love, and happiness to your family. May God watch over you, protect you, and guide you safely through every storm.